Good morning, I'm Diane Macedo. Thanks for streaming with us. In today's update, Supreme Court oral arguments on the future of the Affordable Care Act are underway. At issue is whether the Act's individual mandate, which requires Americans to have health insurance, is unconstitutional, and if so, whether the rest of the law can stand without it. The ruling could affect health care for tens of millions of people, including provisions to protect those with pre-existing conditions, allow children to keep their parents' health care until age 26, and expand Medicaid to low-income adults. Now, this latest challenge comes before a strengthened conservative majority on the bench after Justice Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation last month. The Supreme Court is set to rule on the case in June. Pfizer plans to ask the FDA for emergency use authorization of its coronavirus vaccine candidate as soon as next week. The company reported yesterday that that candidate was 90% effective in trials. Dr. Anthony Fauci says a vaccine that effective could have a major impact on everything we do.
The bottom line is, as a vaccine, it's more than 90% effective, which is extraordinary and will play a major role in what the outcome of this is going to be.
Now, Pfizer says it's hoping to have enough doses for 25 million people by the end of the year. If it does get approval, it could mean some people could see getting it by December. And the vaccine news comes as the U.S. sets a new global record, hitting 10 million COVID-19 cases. 59,000 people are currently hospitalized with the virus, the highest total since late July. Another 118,000 new U.S. cases were reported on Monday, making that the sixth consecutive day we've been above that 100,000 mark. And as President-elect Joe Biden moves ahead with his strategy for combating the coronavirus, President Trump is refusing to accept the results of the election. His campaign is filing lawsuits challenging ballot counts without evidence. Meanwhile, the Justice Department official in charge of elections has resigned after the Attorney General authorized investigations into the election before the results are certified. The move is a reversal of longstanding policy. And the Vatican has released a new report on the sexual misconduct of disgraced former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. A Vatican investigation found that bishops, cardinals, and even 3 popes did not take the sexual abuse allegations against McCarrick seriously. ABC News foreign correspondent Ian Pannell joins me now from London with more on this. Ian, good morning. How incriminating is this for church leadership, past and present?
Yeah, good morning, Diane. I mean, I have to say this is a pretty explosive report. It's been long awaited. It's taken 2 years to compile, and I think many are going to feel it's long overdue. It concludes, as you say, that bishops, cardinals and popes downplayed or dismissed reports that McCarrick had sexually molested adults and children during his 4 decades in the church. Now, it puts most of the blame on Pope John Paul II, who, of course, was beatified, is now a saint, who appointed McCarrick as Archbishop of Washington, D.C. in 2000, despite having already asked for an inquiry that confirmed he had slept with seminarians or trainee priests. It says John Paul believed McCarrick's last-ditch handwritten denial. Pope Francis largely escaped censure, which is, of course, going to anger many conservative Catholics there in the US. The report says Francis had only continued his predecessor's handling of McCarrick until a former altar boy alleged abuse. Diane?
And Ian, how's the church reacting to this?
Well, look, McCarrick, who's now 90 and believed to be living in Florida, was already defrocked by Pope Francis last year. There have been settlements out of court. U.S. bishops hold their annual conference later this month, and, of course, this is going to be discussed. But an initial statement from their president says, and I quote, to McCarrick's victims and their families and to every victim survivor of sexual abuse by the clergy, I express my profound sorrow and deepest apologies. But the biggest next step, of course, is going to be trying to restore confidence in the church and its ability to be accountable and to move swiftly against abuse allegations. I suspect many will doubt the church is ever capable of policing itself. Diane?
All right, Ian Pannell in London for us. Thanks, Ian. And back here in the U.S., there are growing concerns about COVID and college students. The New York Times found that more than 250,000 cases have been reported on campuses across the country as hundreds of thousands of students are getting ready to head home for the holiday. Now, that's prompting fears of a super-spreading Thanksgiving. Here's Stephanie Ramos.
This morning, concerns growing over scenes like this as college students prepare to head home for the Thanksgiving holiday.
And the Irish have knocked off #1 Clemson.
thousands of Notre Dame students rushing the field Saturday after the Irish took down top-rated Clemson in double overtime. A massive celebration erupting. Some students seen without masks, most disregarding social distancing.
We're all just going crazy, doing chants and stuff, and, just really having a good time down there.
Sophomore Nick Campson was on the field with his friends. Let's go! The next morning, he says one friend woke up with a fever and tested positive for COVID-19. Now they're both in quarantine.
I was kind of caught up in the moment. It was such an incredible victory. But I was like, wow, this is my first time since March where I was like, shoulder to shoulder with, that large amount of people.
Notre Dame says all students had to test negative the same week as the game to attend. According to Notre Dame's COVID tracker, the campus is facing more than 200 active cases. This is just the latest trouble for the university. Notre Dame's president, Reverend John Jenkins, was forced to apologize in September after he was seen maskless at the White House Supreme Court nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Jenkins becoming one of at least 14 attendees to test positive for COVID-19. Now, as cases across the U.S. top 10 million, the New York Times finding more than 38,000 have been reported at colleges since late October. And that has some public health experts urging students not to travel home at all.
We would encourage students not to go home. And the reason is that we know with travel comes risk of exposure. And so we would prefer students stay on campus and do a virtual Thanksgiving with their family.
Notre Dame, which is ending its fall semester before Thanksgiving, is mandating so-called exit testing for all students before they leave campus. Any students who skip won't be allowed to register for classes next semester. Experts say if students are planning to travel, the time to start preparing is now.
What we're advising students is if they are planning to go home, that they start 14 days in advance of leaving campus to limit contacts, to limit their activities.
And Diane, here at Rutgers University, COVID testing is not required for employees and students, but it is offered to certain groups who are working here on campus. Now, if students are going home to celebrate the holiday, the CDC says the safest option is to celebrate with only those in your household. If you're not, go ahead and be that person. Bring your cup, bring your plate, and bring your utensils, and have your meal outdoors. If you're having it indoors, leave the windows open, but just take those extra precautions, like wearing your mask and keeping your distance. Diane.
All right, Stephanie Ramos for us. Good tips there, Stephanie. And with so many people expected to travel for the holidays, airlines and airports are taking extra steps to try to meet demand, but also keep passengers safe. Gio Benitez is at LaGuardia Airport with more on this. Good morning, Gio.
Hey there, Diane. Yeah, we saw an uptick in travelers during the summer holidays, but now it looks like Thanksgiving will be the biggest test yet. United Airlines telling us that they expect Thanksgiving week to be its busiest time since March, adding 1,400 additional flights that week. The airline tells us it is keenly aware that we are in the midst of a pandemic, and aside from the cleaning that they're already doing, they say they're preparing to swap in bigger planes as more people book seats. Now, TSA says it is preparing for the rush of travelers by opening additional security lanes with more employees to give people more room. But you're still touching those bins, so sanitize your hands after you go through security. And remember, you've got to wear the mask the entire time from the moment you walk into that airport. Diane?
All right, Gio Benitez at LaGuardia Airport. Thanks, Gio. And for more on staying safe for the holiday, I want to bring in ABC's Dr. John Brownstein. Dr. Brownstein, good morning. You just heard from Gio there about this surge expected in travel. Air travel's been down. Planes have been less packed than usual throughout this pandemic. So are you concerned about this expected uptick in holiday travel?
Yeah, thanks, Diane. I mean, we are entering the hardest days of this pandemic just as we're about to hit Thanksgiving. So we're seeing this exponential growth in cases. We're hitting over 100,000 per day. That's much more than we were at 2 months ago. Cases are accelerating faster than testing. We're at almost 10% positivity rate. And we're thinking about hitting about 200,000 cases per day into Thanksgiving. So you superimpose Thanksgiving travel, which we know is a major driver of respiratory disease. This is actually how epidemics start. We know flu spreads rapidly because of Thanksgiving travel. So the real worry is now we're spreading this virus around the country. It leads to health system overload and a rise in deaths. So the advice really is the same as we always have said, right? Keep your gathering small, limit travel, try to stay outdoors at a safe distance, and prepare. You know, there might be some quarantine that people are going to need to do if they want to celebrate together. And testing isn't enough, as we've seen, of course, with the White House. It's not the only approach to celebrating Thanksgiving. So we really can't let pandemic fatigue turn into this really major single-day super spreading event.
And when you focus on the issue with college campuses right now, college students wanting to go home to their families wanting to see them for the holidays, do precautions like what we're seeing at Notre Dame, exit testing, or having students quarantined before they come home, how much can that help?
Yeah, I think it can help a lot. I mean, this is a major concern. The last thing we want to do is put a bunch of students on planes, trains, and automobiles and have them bring that virus around the country, right? So the general recommendation is that students should be quarantining before, a week before they travel and get a negative test 3 days ahead of departure. And if they can't do that, then they should really be quarantining for 14 days. So the challenge is we've got to get our students on board with this. Of course, they need to get a flu shot. They need to reduce spending time with others beyond their roommates and housemates, maintain hygiene, consistently wear a mask. If they can try to do all those things, hopefully we'll be able to reduce transmission. Now, it should mention that schools are taking this incredibly seriously. Some are mandating exit testing to limit the spread of this virus across the country. And many schools are just recommending students stay on campus. So many approaches, and it really depends on what is happening in terms of transmission in the community.
All right, Dr. John Brownstein, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
And as coronavirus cases rise, there are some new concerns about people hoarding household items. Shoppers are starting to stock up, and some stores are now putting a limit on certain products to help avoid shortages like we saw in the spring. Will Reeve has the details.
With record numbers of COVID infections sweeping the country, experts say shoppers are starting to stock up again, fearing another round of shortages in stores in the coming months.
We absolutely are starting to see shortages again.
Grocery chain Kroger announcing on Monday it's bringing back product limits to help prevent those shortages, limiting purchases of toilet paper, paper towels, disinfecting wipes, and hand soap to 2 per customer. Grocer H-E-B is also putting limits on paper products and disinfectant wipes in some of its stores again. Last week, on a quarterly earnings call, Clorox announced it is still not at a point where we can fully meet ongoing elevated demand, predicting that the shortages on its wipes and disinfectants will continue through the end of the year. And it's not just those staples. This time around, experts are seeing high demand for other products as well.
So you have this perfect storm now where America's supply chains are still recovering from the first wave of panic buying, and now you have the largest selling season of the entire year on top of that.
While experts say it's unclear yet if they'll see shortages, they have seen an early surge in holiday mainstays, especially those that are non-perishable, like boxed stuffings and canned goods. And for those counting down the days until pumpkin pie, some bad news for bakers. Spices, still seeing sky-high sales, are another category that could soon be in low supply.
The spice category has absolutely gone through the roof. So we believe that during this pandemic, there's been a totally different buying pattern and really generation that started to cook a lot more than they used to due to necessity.
This is not meant to induce a panic. As we've reported before, it's imperative that you plan and be prepared. Experts say that you should stock up on your non-perishables, your frozen items, anything that will last you through the holidays. And as far as those staple items like toilet paper, paper towels, likely this time around they will be more available because retailers are preparing for this situation. Diane?
Let's hope so, Will Reeve. We don't want to run out of toilet paper again. And it's time now for your latest science and technology headlines. Here's Mona Kozar-Abdi with that.
And today's Tech Bites, new products from Apple. During today's online event, Apple is expected to unveil its first MacBooks with the same processing chips used in the iPhone. Apple says the new Macs will be faster and use less power. Reports say Apple could also unveil over-ear headphones. Video game prices are going up for the first time in 15 years. The industry-wide effort is underway to hike the standard price of a game from $60 to $70. Game makers acknowledge it's an unpopular move amid an economic crisis driven by the pandemic, but they say inflation left them no choice. And get ready for a burger with no meat at McDonald's. The McPlant is about to hit the menu. The patty will be supplied by meat substitute manufacturer Beyond Meat. The McPlant will appear early next year on a market-by-market basis as a test item. Those are your Tech Bites. Diane, rumor has it they're coming for the chicken nuggets next. Back to you.
I don't know. It looked pretty good. I think I would try it. ABC's Mona Kozar-Abdi. Thank you. And that does it for this ABC News Live update. I'm Diane Macedo. Thanks for joining us. And remember, ABC News Live is here for you all day with the latest news, context, and analysis. I'll see you back here at 3 p.m. Eastern with Terry Moran for The Breakdown. Stay safe. Have a great day.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.